So our own Sanmaya Mohanty is going to be in conversation with Jan Natividad. Jan is a product marketing manager at Riipen. I'm so sorry if your name is Jan. I hope I'm not horribly butchering this. His work focuses on improving the scalability of project-based experiential learning to help more students gain valuable experiences and develop work-ready skills. As a lifelong learner and storyteller, Jan is passionate about sharing his insights with youth, the tech community, and in global conferences. So welcome. I'm so excited to hear this conversation. I'm going to turn the floor over to you two. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Meg, and welcome, Jan.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So nice to have you with us here, speaking at the summit, and this topic, integrating work and education. So I've been at the crossroads of both for as far as I can remember for the last 3-4 years. Like, I have had a bachelor's in electronics and communication, and my work in community management and development is far from it. And I believe there are a lot of students, a lot of career professionals whose education and the work they are currently doing is far from each other. So tell us more about you, Jan, and how do you solve this problem? And tell us more about your career journey.
Amazing. Yeah, sure. So again, my name is Jan. Yeah, you got it right, Meg. And I am currently one of the product marketing managers over at Riipen. We are a tech education education technology startup based out of Vancouver, Canada. But we have offices across Canada, as well as a few employees in America and South America even. And what we do is we help make it easier for post-secondary institutions to create and scale experiential learning. Mm-hmm. And we focus not on kind of the big internship co-op practicums that most people are used to when you say experiential learning. What we focused on are more short-term project-based experiential learning. So there's 2 different streams that we go about it. The first stream is in-class projects. So for example, if let's say you're studying marketing in school and you're in a marketing classroom, your marketing professor could be working with a company that they find on our platform to create a short-term project for you to work on. And it's something kind of meaty and exciting for you to work on, and it'll have it'll actually have impact for the company involved. That's one stream. The other stream that we have is something called remote internships. It's all in the name. It's an internship. It's usually remote, but we focus on the short-term project-based aspect of it. So instead of you going into work every single day from 9 to 5, it's more of you're given a project to work on and a timeline, and you kind of work on it during your own time. And it kind of emulates what a lot of professionals are doing right now, where it's more of a kind of like a gig economy where it's not a normal typical 9 to 5. It's you're working on a project and helping a company out and making an impact pretty much right away.
Totally. Sounds good. So now that you've started out on experiential learning, I'd love to know your career journey. Like, how did you become a product marketing manager? And for all the aspirants, all the early career professionals in our audience who wants to be in your shoes someday, how can they start their path as a product marketing manager?
Of course, yeah. So I had a pretty not a very typical career path, as I'm sure many others out there as well. Like it's not product marketing in general is one of those careers that kind of popped up in the past decade or so, especially with the rise of technology. 20, 30 years ago, I don't really think this job existed. Maybe it did, but with a different name. And so when I was growing up, and even when I was all the way up until university, I wasn't really thinking I want to become a product marketing manager. I actually studied economics and international business while I was in university. And so when I graduated, I wanted to work maybe at an NGO or do something exciting like that. But I visited a startup one day. There was something, I grew up in Toronto, Canada, and there was an event called Startup Open House where I went door to door to different startups offices. And it was incredible just seeing the kind of work everyone did and just how passionate everyone was about the work they did. And it kind of led me towards the path of tech. And because I had while I was in university, I had a lot of internships. I was lucky enough to do a lot of internships over the summers, and a lot of them kind of focused on marketing. I kind of took those skills and put them towards future career paths. Almost right after graduating from university, I moved to Vancouver and met the Riipen team. And while I was, when I met the Riipen team, they actually told me, we don't have any marketing roles open right now, even though that's your skill set, even though that's what you know how to do. But they had some sales roles open, and I was a little hesitant at first because sales and speaking to people is not like one-on-one is not typically what I am good at. But I'm thankful I took on that role because I was super passionate about the team. Like the people that I work with are absolutely fantastic. And the mission, our mission is to end underemployment. And so I was super passionate about that and really wanted to work in that space. So I went for it. I took on the sales role. I've been in the company for 4 years and kind of change and adapt, went from a sales role to an operations role. And then from an operations role, I went into, I helped to build up the marketing team here at Riipen, where I was a growth marketing manager. And then finally, now I'm a product marketing manager here at Riipen.
Wow. So great. I mean, your story is a story of resilience. Like, when you first started at the company, the role was not even there. It's like basically you paved a path for yourself in the company. Congrats to you, and wow. So nicely done. So basically, throughout your journey, if you have to quantify, let's say, what are the 4 transferable skills that somebody should bring to the table if they are interviewing for this role?
Oh, yeah. I think one of the biggest ones, there's quite a few skills that you should bring to the table to become or if you want to become a product marketer. I think one of the most important ones is the ability to tell a really good story. Because when it comes to a product marketer, you're the bridge between the tech team, like the product team in your company, and your customers, as well as other departments, other stakeholders, such as sales and customer success. You're essentially the person that helps build up the go-to-market plan. The easiest way to kind of describe this is to shift away from tech and move more towards like consumer packaged goods. As a product marketing manager, you're the person from day one helping develop, what kind of, let's say you're selling cereal, what kind of cereal do your customers want? What kind of cereal do your customers need? And then, your manufacturing, your product team, your tech team actually creates that cereal for you. And then you're the person who decides these are the stores my cereal is going to be in, and these are the shelves, and this is where it's going to go on the shelf. So you're talking about messaging, you're talking about positioning, and you're teaching not just you're kind of the why, like why do we need this product? Why is this product valuable? And you're kind of connecting a bunch of different dots together. So the ability to tell a really good story is super important for that. That way, your customers, they're excited about it. They want this, they have this pain point and you're fulfilling it with this, you're solving this pain point with your product. But then also with sales and customer success, you're trying to unify that message together and say, you know what, like this is how we talk about our product. This is how you should be selling, or this is how you should be talking about it with our customers. So that's probably the most important skill, I'd say, and probably a really transferable one as well. So whether maybe you don't think product marketing is for you, no matter which career path you go into, the ability to tell a really good story is going to be valuable throughout. But then other skills, I've sort of touched on it, like research, being able to really understand your customers and get to the core, get to the why. Why is this important to them? Why do they care about this? And then telling that to your product team and your tech team. Let's see what else.
Basically, you're the problem solver. You're the problem solver of the company.
Sort of, yeah. You help like the way I always say is the product marketers are the why this product is important. The product team, like the product managers, they're the what is this product, and then the engineers they figure out how to actually build it out.
How to actually, wow, that's a nice quote. So basically, I mean, you take in input from the user and actually work with your team to deliver what the user actually wants. Sounds like a great job description. Yeah. So moving forward, you've actually talked about this previously, about experiential learning. So let me dive into this further and let me ask you a bit more about it. Why is experiential learning so important? And, when we are talking about experiential learning, how we can actually showcase the experiential learning in our LinkedIn or in our resume, or how we can get tangible benefits from the experiential learning that we are talking about?
Really good questions. Yeah. So when it comes to experiential learning, I'll bite off the first question first. So it's super important because especially for those of us, for those of you, actually, I'm not in school anymore, but those of you in school, a lot of your class, a lot of what you learn in class tends to kind of, you sometimes forget it because you're just studying or learning about it in the classroom, and then you may write an essay or write an exam, and then once you're done with the class, once you're done with the semester, you sometimes forget it. But a lot of that knowledge that you learn in class is super valuable, super important. And the best way to kind of make sure that it sticks is to actually put it into a real life situation, do something that has some stakes in it. So like experiential learning is a great way to do that. You're learning by doing, learning on the job kind of stuff. But then aside from being able to apply the knowledge you learned in class into a real life setting, you're also learning a lot of other things. So you're developing a lot of your transferable skills that you might not learn in the classroom, such as professionalism, communicating with your coworkers, communicating with with a boss. Right now, super relevant. A lot of companies are working remotely or still working remotely or plan to stay remote. So being able to interact with people in an online setting is very weird. Especially in a professional setting, but especially last year, a lot of people were struggling with it. They had no clue how to talk to people on Zoom. They didn't know how to, they sent out 50,000 emails a day, but figuring all of that out, that's not something you typically learn in the classroom. So that's also super important. And then finally, a lot of people discount this, but when it comes to experiential learning, you went, for example, an internship or a Riipen project, you're building out your professional network. So you're meeting a lot of new people. You're learning a lot about, let's say you want to you want to go into tech after you graduate, even if the people that you work with, they don't have a tech background, it's not a tech company, I'm sure they know other people in their network. So you're kind of expanding your network, and everyone's, what's that phrase? Like everyone's like, there's 7 degrees of separation between you and most people in the world or something like that. There's that. And
it's
then
a web. It's basically
it's a web. Everyone's pretty
Everyone
connected.
knows each other.
Exactly. And another one, I forgot about this, but a lot of people forget this, is you build a lot of confidence in yourself when you have the opportunity to actually work with a real business, real company. That way, when you do graduate and you look for a job, your confidence really shows when you're doing interviews or once you actually get the job, talking to coworkers, and when you have that confidence, people want to work with you more and give you harder projects, challenge you more, and that'll help you really excel in your career. So that's I've ranted there, but a lot of really great benefits with experiential learning. And then when it comes to actually displaying or talking about your experiential learning in your resumes or LinkedIn or anything like that, again, whether it's a short-term project like on Riipen or like a normal semester-long internship, do it the same way, where you put it down on your resume, put it down on your LinkedIn account, and again, tell a story about it. Don't just say, I did this, I used Photoshop, whatever. Talk about, what you did, the impact you made, as well as the skills that you developed in your job. And whether it's again, a 2-3 week long Riipen project or a 4-month long internship, whatever it is, it's going to be super valuable and you can share it. And especially if you did multiple Riipen projects during your university career or your college career, you can start to kind of pick and choose, depending on the job, which experiences were most relevant and which experiences will help you shine through when you actually apply to jobs.
Totally. I mean, the name suggests it, experience and learning. And there are a lot of skills, as you said, the soft skills that nobody teaches us. I mean, how many times you should reach out to someone, networking, and there's a lot of stigma attached to, in all our previous sessions, one of the questions that always popped up is basically what is the right time, or how many times should I follow up? So, you can understand there's a inherent stigma attached to reaching out to people. We are inherently scared. Okay, what the other person is going to perceive of me. And this is something you cannot teach by learning. You have to learn it by experience. You have to learn it by, putting yourself in those situations that teach you the skill. So I totally get it.
Exactly.
Moving forward, Jan, tell us more about Riipen and how you are planning to bring a revolution in the educational sphere.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah. So Ripen, I mentioned earlier, our mission is to end underemployment. So, students graduating from college or university, and then their first job out of a university is, a job that didn't really require a college or university degree to take on. And so a stat that is a little scary, but we always use it because, it is scary, and that's why this problem is something we need to work on and fix is well, at least in America, at least about 40% of students or so graduate underemployed. So they're graduating
Oh,
and taking on a job that doesn't really require a degree for.
graduation.
Yeah, but then what people don't realize is, what people think is if you're underemployed after graduation, you'll eventually find a job that, does require a university degree or it is worth kind of the spending 4 or 5 years in university for. What they don't realize is studies have been made, and of those 40% of people who are underemployed when they graduate, 5 years into the future, 2/3 of them, so 67% of them are still underemployed. And then 10 years into the future, 50% of those people are still underemployed. So your first job out of university or college really, really matters because
Yeah.
it can have long-term effects on your career. There are obviously people who get out of it and find a career that matches their skills and all that, but it really does matter. And so what we try to do here at Ripen is give students a little bit of that opportunity. So we focus on the short term, more scalable type projects, and we do that through our platform. And our platform has three parts. The first part is a marketplace where companies and educators across the world can meet with each other and say, hey, I'm teaching a class in marketing, or I'm teaching a class in computer engineering or something like that. Are there any companies out there who'd like to work with my students on a project? And then on the other side, the companies could also say, hey, I need some help with my social media. I need some help with creating
Site
a
development
website,
or whatever.
anything like that. Exactly. And then the two can meet. And so that's what the marketplace part is all about. And then the second and third part is where the students come in. So the second part is the experience management, where the students come in and instead of using any external tools, like we have all of the tools necessary for the company and the students to work with each other. Obviously, they're more than welcome to hop off the platform and use Zoom or Slack or whatever other tools they normally have, the company normally uses rather. But for example, especially if it's a 1 week or 2 week course, sometimes it's difficult for companies to bring them onto their system. So we have everything there. And then the final part of our tool is the reporting and feedback. So the feedback part is super important, where the companies give the students feedback, sort of like LinkedIn recommendations, where the company gives the student feedback and rates them on 4 core skills such as communication, professionalism, creativity. And that way the students get a little bit of a scorecard. And hopefully the goal is throughout their university or college career, they'll have the opportunity to take some in-class projects or some remote internships, and then they can kind of see themselves grow and develop. And then when they do graduate and look for a full-time job, they have this whole portfolio of experience that they can draw from, talk about.
Totally, totally. So tell me more about, let's say I'm a student and I want to take benefit of the Ripen platform. Is there any prerequisite, and what does the entire student journey look like? Like from what I can gather from your conversation, like I have to have a teacher who through whom I can take the Ripen platform. So tell us more about it. Can students go in individually, or do they need to be accompanied by a teacher, or what's the end-to-end journey looks like?
Yeah, good question. So with Ripen, our focus is on, these project-based learning experiences where, the students are sort of like the minimum compensation for these students is course credit. We're not in the business of unpaid internships or unpaid work. We don't want to ever be in that work. So the way we kind of make sure that, the students are compensated with at least course credit for this is an educator or the career center at your school has to be the one who helps kind of start this off or initiate these engagements. So whether it's a professor or career services, they go onto our platform and say, hey, I have a group of students who would benefit from some experiential learning, and they would go about it that way. So that's kind of the one of the only ways for students to get involved. The other way, which is only available to Canada, so if there are any viewers out there who are in Canada, we have a program called Level Up, and it is sort of direct to students where students can come in and speak to the companies and create work together and without the need for an educator involved. And the reason why this is available in Canada, the Level Up program, is because it's funded by the government of Canada, and then the students would get paid right away. Only available for Canadian students right now. And actually the program was supposed to run until, the program runs until March of next year. It's currently full, unfortunately. We might have some openings sooner later on in the year or maybe early next year, but right now it's fully booked. But we hope to continue doing this in the future and expand it outside of Canada to America, everywhere else in the world as well. That way students are gaining some experience and obviously getting some money from it as well.
Totally, totally, and I'm happy that a company is taking the initiative to end this menace of unpaid internships. I mean, this is such a sin, like just like getting people to work for you and not paying them, and that's become a practice that everybody knows about it, but nobody kind of does anything to stop it. So it's a very welcome thing that you have started, that you cannot start a project without some kind of college authority pushing for you, or maybe the government of Canada as it has roped in. So when an authority stamps your project, so yeah, that's one way of ensuring that you'll be getting paid at least in time. So moving forward, tell us more about what kind of projects and the duration of it that people can expect while they enroll in Riipen.
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, it's all short-term and project-based. So the in-class projects, it could really run depending on what kind of classroom you're in and what your professor is teaching. Whatever your professor is teaching, they can go onto our platform and say, I'm teaching a marketing class or computer science, or literally whatever project you have, or sorry, whatever category of study you're studying. The professor can go in and say, these are the types of projects my students can work on. So literally anything from, if it's an in-class project, they're more of the research-based types where, you're looking into what countries or which markets should my company expand into, or create a social media strategy or something like that. Our remote internships are more of the execution type, where the students would then maybe work on actually creating these social media posts. If it's a social media strategy, they might even, create a bunch of other things. So it runs the gamut from research-based all the way to more execution-based projects. The timeline really depends as well. If it's an in-class project, it usually runs for a semester, so for as long as the class is running. But we've seen cases where it's shortened all the way down to 2 weeks or expanded to a whole year. Again, it depends on the class itself. There are some full year classes. And then with remote internships, they, again, could run anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks, maybe even longer, maybe even shorter. But there's some sort of a project, and it's very clear between the educator and the company that this is something that's achievable within this timeline.
So by the way, how does a company vet a candidate? Let's say I'm a company and I have a project in mind, let's say creating a social media strategy, and I have 4 candidates lined up. So are there interviews, or how does this work?
Yeah, so with our normal in-class projects or remote internships, the company, to help speed things up, especially since these are short-term projects, we just want to kind of get them done. Everything because of the administrator, the school administrator, or the educator, everything is kind of vetted and made sure everything's working out. And especially if it's an in-class project, the educator is always there throughout the project to kind of guide and help them out. I'm having trouble with this. How do I work? The educator can help out. If it's the Level Up program, again, is the anomaly, the exception here, where the company, because it's direct from the students to the company company can put a call out there for, this is my project. A bunch of students can apply, and then the company decides and interview the students and decide on which students they want to work with.
Okay. Wow, sounds good. By the way, tell us more about, how people can reach out the Level Up program. Is there a website, or, tell us more about that.
Of course. So for anyone out there, just in general, our website is riipen.com, RIIPEN.com. For any Canadian students who are interested in the Level Up and want to maybe join the wait list in case we have openings in the future, you can go to riipen.com/levelup, just level up spelled all one word.
Okay.
And those are the 2 best ways. Also follow us on social media. We're either Riipen or Riipen Networks on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of that good stuff.
Wow, totally. And lastly, I have this question before we wrap this conversation up. How do you think this pandemic or the COVID situation has risen the internship landscape, the entire internship landscape?
Oh yeah, for sure. The pandemic's really changed not just internships, I guess, but the whole future of work.
Yeah.
Before the pandemic, everyone wanted to make sure everyone was within the classroom, or not within the
Mhm.
classroom, within the office. The only people that could, apply to certain jobs are people who live in the area. That way, they can go to the office every day. The pandemic's kind of shown that everyone can work from home, everyone can work remotely, and it kind of opened things up, and it made everyone kind of rethink how they approach things. So, for example, if it's for example, even if you're based in a certain city like New York, you can start hiring people in California or across the world or anywhere else in the world, really, just as long as they kind of follow the same
Yeah.
time zones as you. And that really opened things up. And that's expanded from just full-time jobs to internships as well. Like here at Riipen, we only ever hired people from two of our main offices, but now we hire all across North America. And no matter which time zone you're in, and it kind of help students out, especially if they're not in a big metropolitan city or near a metropolitan city. Take advantage of that and work for these, bigger companies or some companies or startups that they're really interested in working with.
Wow. That was so great. That was so great, Jan. And I'm really glad that people got to know about the Level Up program and your efforts towards ensuring that unpaid internship shouldn't exist. That's commendable. And thank you so much. Thank you once again for speaking with us at our summit, and looking forward to stay connected.
Yeah, thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me.